We are shortly approaching the end of our first panel, but before closing, we have provided the citizens an opportunity to send us any questions to our distinguished speakers on this topic on Twitter. And there was a great interest, and we have received many questions, and we have grouped them. And I would like to ask from our distinguished speakers some of the most important questions. The first question is addressed to Minister Judit Varga, and the question is that how do you see the future work of the Digital Freedom Committee overall, what you have established in Hungary? And is this committee involved in promoting joint EU efforts in terms of the ongoing negotiations on the DSA and the DMA? Thank you.
May I answer it right now?
Yes, please.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the question from the online audience, I guess. The Digital Freedom Committee, as I said in my introductory remarks, was set up early last year. And the very reason why we to tackle this issue was that there were so many diverse comments and concerns arising from the society itself. So we decided to establish a dialogue, an online dialogue. So the website is a very important element of the work of this committee. And we tried to somehow channel in this very diverse like a sea snake format problem into main topics. And we also invited all those members of the state sector authorities who somehow during their everyday work somehow bumped into one or many aspects of this digital existence. Because what we see that the online world reflects, of course, our offline world, but the challenges are greater because many important elements like geographical connection, like scope, like competences of authorities, sovereignty is under a great challenge. How to get in touch from a rule of law point of view with tech giants who are not linked to one geographic location. They are not linked to only one single country. But I think coming back to the question, the work was very valuable because what we did was a genuine collection of information. We followed the model of the European legislation where they defined the problem in green papers and then in white papers. So that's why we actually compiled all the answers and the experience gained with authorities like the National Data Protection Authority or the National Competition Office and the National Consumer Protection Authorities into one big document. We also published it on the net. And from the outcome, we wanted to set up a Hungarian proposal for a legislation, but we saw also parallelly that there was this ongoing work in the European Commission at European level. We also analyzed with the help of the Mádl Friends Institute with comparative law professors what other countries are doing, because we don't have to invent the wheel. Every country is facing the same challenges. Just let us mention the criminal aspects, what is going on in the inline sector or the child protection concerns. So we actually saw that there was a parallel legislation to be approved at European level. And that's why we actually use this white paper as a contribution to this European debate. We are sitting at the negotiating table. We already have very concrete and practical recommendations how we could actually tackle, for example, the challenge of freedom of expression, freedom of online speech. But we have to here really have a European solution, because I think for a tech giant, they all live from profits. So a market of 500 million citizens is much more important than a market of only 10 million citizens. So this is very well justified to find a common European solution. Thank you for the question.
Thank you very much for your reply. Now we go on with the second question, which is addressed to State Secretary Zacharias. And Madam State Secretary, given the horizontal nature of the task of an EU State Secretary, what do you see as the biggest achievement of the Portuguese presidency? And also, how do you see the transition back to a post-presidential role? Thank you.
The transition to a post-presidency role, I think I can say it, I see it with relief. I mean that after this 6 months of hard work, now it would be very good to send the greetings to our colleagues from Slovenia so that they pick up the task and continue. This is how the rotation presidency of the council works, and that is the way it should be, because it allows every single member state to bring in a new strengths, a new impetus to push forward the different dossiers that are under negotiation. As for Portuguese, for the Portuguese presidency, I think that for us, it was very, I think there are 5 main dossiers that were very, very important for us. I would say the first one was this social summit in Oporto, because I listened with a great interest to what the parliamentarian Eric Branchi just said. The consequences, the social consequences of this digital transition have to be taken into account. We need to make sure that we do not make this digital divide bigger. On the contrary, we need to have all the necessary means to have back skills for people, young people, older people, so that they do not feel excluded.
Now we can see how challenging is the digital agenda in everyday life. So there's still a lot to work on connectivity, but also on other aspects. Let's try again. Madam State Secretary is back. So I would like to give you the floor to finish your reply. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We need better connections all across Europe. This is for sure. And this was also work that we have done during our presidency. I discussed already some of the elements there, but we had long debates, and we pushed forward also these dossiers on the digital service package, the digital services on digital services and digital markets. We also worked on the Data Governance Act, on the e-privacy, on roaming regulations to push forward the 2030 Digital Compass. So I think this was also a lot of work during our presidency in the digital domain, and also in areas of the public administration. We hold the first ever meeting of ministers of public administration. And I think this is very important, so that they can discuss amongst ourselves possibilities and new mechanisms for cooperation in terms of digitalization of public services. There was also very interesting developments in e-justice, in e-health. So a lot is moving in this domain. And finally, I would say that I'm very proud that during our presidency, we were able to put forward all the legislation concerning the next multi-annual framework, financial framework of the Union, so that the funds for the different programs will start flowing into the member states as of now. And we were also able to approve the Next Generation EU and the mechanism of recovery and resilience that will enable us to produce the national recovery programs that will be fundamental to ensure recovery and to ensure recovering along these lines that we have all mentioned here: innovation, digitalization, sustainability, and also with the social domain being taken care of, so that we have a recovery that is fair, greener, and just. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And let me take the opportunity to congratulate for the work of the Portuguese presidency, what you have conducted in the previous 6 months, and will end at the end of this month. So the third question is coming from the Youth Business Group of Hungary, and it's addressed to Director Cervera Navas. And the question is that how can the EU most efficiently guarantee the safety of our data during the digital transition? And what are the main steps towards a safe digital environment?
Thank you for the question. Allow me first to congratulate Minister Varga very sincerely for the organization of this high-level event. I've been following the intervention of our distinguished speakers, and I think we have managed to put together many important messages. This issue of guaranteeing the safety of our data in this digital transition is one of the issues where I think the European Union has done very well. We cannot say the same for everything, but I think in terms of defending fundamental rights and the fundamental right to data protection in particular, I think the European Union has done pretty well so far. The first step was back in 2016, when against all odds, we managed to adopt a very strong piece of legislation, the GDPR, which has the highest standards in the world, and also put in place data protection authorities in each member state, and also a coordination at European level, European Data Protection Board. So that was the first important step. The second one has come later, with some kind of soft diplomacy, where we have managed to persuade many countries around the world to join our club of data protection countries. And this is still ongoing, and more than 100 countries around the world now have good data protection laws. Many are not as good as ours, but they are in the process. And this is also a way to secure that the data of our citizens is safe, not only when it is in Europe, but also when it is outside. Now, more recently, in 2020, the European Commission has launched a strategy called Shaping Europe's Digital Future, which we find from the EDPS extremely good, because it's based in 3 strong pillars to make technology that works for people. For example, investing in digital skills for all European, protecting people from cyber threats, ensuring a fair and competitive digital economy, for example, through strengthening the responsibility of online platforms with the Digital Service Act and the Digital Market Act, and working on open, democratic, and sustainable society. For example, making sure that Europe become climate neutral by 2050, or giving citizens more control and protection for the data. For example, the data governance art, or creating a European health and data space to foster targeted research, diagnosis, and treatment. So I think, all in all, the EU is doing well in protecting the safety of our data during this transition. And I think we should continue doing this with an open mind, with cooperation and dialogue with the third countries, hiding away from dogmatic approaches, but defending our values strongly. So it is what we call from the EDPS digital values leadership. Thank you so much.
Now we have the final question, which is addressed to Chairman Banki. And the question is, in which way can the national parliaments help to achieve EU objectives in the field of digitalization?
Thank you very much for the question. First of all, I'd like to join the message the State Secretary, and I'd like to thank the Lady Minister for organizing this conference and allowing us to sit together and discuss our experiences. The dynamism and preparedness and also the humility we have seen from the Minister really has a positive impact on the entire team. And if you allow me, I would bring a quote from a sensational Czech writer who said the world is becoming more and more beautiful, not because it is, but because I see it so. So it's always important to keep our optimism. And to come back to the question, well, in Hungary, we adopted a national digitalization strategy whose pillars are practically identical to the principles applied by the EU. For it's focused on the regulation of artificial intelligence, data protection, 5G technology, and cybersecurity. And it will also focus on e-governance and the digitalization of the public domain. So it will further develop all the measures or further advance all the measures we have already taken. In Pillar 4 of the digitalization regulation named the European Compass, well, the Hungarian legislation took a large step in this spirit as we created an integrated legislation or lawmaking system, which covers all levels of legislation, from local legislation to the level of parliamentary legislation. So all the rulings and decisions are included in this database and available to all citizens. I think it's a great progress in ensuring that companies, municipalities, state bodies, and private individuals can access information in a fast and efficient way, so that they can use this information efficiently. And as I mentioned before in my speech, well, there is an ICT system, Parlex, that has been in place and used since 2017, that already offered the opportunity to citizens to access legislative information promptly. And I think with the development we completed this year, we really completed this process. And as for this specific question, I think through these measures, the Hungarian government, Hungary has contributed as much as it possibly could. And I very much hope that these positive experiences can also be shared by other member states. We will support you in this, and especially the Lady Minister, and she is responsible for the process of legislation.
First of all, I would like to thank you all for your participation, and I would like to thank for all our speakers for the excellent enlightening presentations. And I think these presentations today all contributed to widen our perspectives to better understand the topic of digitalization and sovereignty. And for me, one important conclusion of this panel is what Madam Minister said at the very beginning, that we should never forget that we should build a digital European Union which works for the benefit of the citizens. We shall never forget that the citizens should be the core of this digital European Union. We will continue the work. We will have a very busy digital autumn ahead of us in the different institutions. But now we will take a short break. Please enjoy the coffee and some refreshments. And at 11 o'clock, we will continue with a second panel, which will also be very interesting. It's titled Digitalization and Businesses, the Future of European Competitiveness. And I hope that you are enjoying our conference so far. And also those who are following us online, please stay tuned. We will shortly continue. Thank you very much for your attention.